As we turn to Hosea chapter 4, we hear a very sad but a very important message, and that is that the consequences of ignorance and unfaithfulness are very far-reaching. And Hosea chapter 4 through chapter 8, really because of the constant rebellion of the people against the Lord, that now God's judgment is on Israel. And I couldn't pick just one verse of the day. I wanted to read verses 1 through 3 from Hosea chapter 4. Hear the word of the Lord, O people of Israel, for the Lord has an indictment against the inhabitants of the land. There is no faithfulness or loyalty and no knowledge of God in the land. Swearing, lying, and murder, and stealing, and adultery break out. Bloodshed follows bloodshed. Therefore the land mourns, and all who live in it languish, together with the wild animals and the birds of the air. Even the fish of the sea are perishing. I got to tell you, I read those verses, and they could have been written this morning to describe our nation and our world, and they would feel just as timely and relevant as they were when they were spoken by Hosea more than 2,000 years ago. The consequences of ignorance, of not having the knowledge of God, of disloyalty and unfaithfulness, they don't just impact individuals. One of the positive things about our country is the value of individuals and the value of individual freedom and responsibility. But in some ways, there's also a shadow side to that, which is we don't think sometimes as much about the common good and the consequences for other people of the choices that we may make individually. And God, throughout Hosea chapter 4 all the way into chapter 8, will be talking about how Israel has forgotten not only the Lord and sought help from other gods and from other nations, but also that they don't love their fellow Israelites either. And whenever people stop loving God and stop loving their neighbors, bad things happen. That's part of the basic message of the Bible. When we stop loving God and stop loving our neighbors, bad things happen. And the description that Hosea gives, it's like a ticking off the 10 Commandments, right? That none of them are being followed. That swearing, lying, murder, stealing, and adultery break out, and bloodshed follows bloodshed. And it's interesting how we can go back time and time again to the core law of Moses and funnel it down to the 10 Commandments. And again, I would much rather live in a society and in a community where people were living by the 10 Commandments than violating them and breaking them and following people or honoring people who break them themselves. We are called to be people who are faithful, loyal, and who know God and seek to serve Him and love God and love our neighbors every day. And when we don't, not only ourselves, but all of creation suffers.